My name's Catherine. I am the International Recruitment Officer in the Faculty of Arts, Humanities and Social Sciences. I'm also joined by my colleague Emma, who is the Domestic Recruitment Officer in the faculty. Hello, Emma.
Hello, everyone.
And then Professor Mark Palmer is our special guest today. He's going to give us an introduction to the MSc Marketing course.
Hello,
hi, Mark.
Hello.
But before we get to that, just for any students on the call who aren't familiar with Queen's or Belfast as a location, I just wanted to do a very quick introduction to the university and to the city, and then I'll pass over to Mark after that. So, sorry, I'm just having a little bit of trouble with my screen. But yes, so Queen's is ranked in the top 140 in the world for graduate prospects. So some of the rankings with Queen's are things that are really important when you're considering a university to study at. So we are happy to have some really good rankings and ranked 22 for International Outlook. Ranked joint first in the UK for research intensity and a ninth oldest university in the UK. So as a Russell Group university, we are one of the longest established in the UK as well. So some of the key points to mention about Queen's, so the beautiful Lanyon building, as I'm sure Mark will agree, loves the marketing of the buildings. So the building's beautiful. If you're familiar with Belfast, you will know the Lanyon building. If you've been to Queen's before, you know that it's kind of the central and focal point of the university. And if you aren't familiar and you do come to Belfast, it won't take long to become familiar with the Lanyon building. But it really is one of the key aspects of Queen's itself. Then Belfast in general. So if you're not familiar with the city, Northern Ireland was ranked the happiest place to live in the UK. It's also an excellent location for students because of the cost of living. It's one of the cheapest cities in the UK, especially for students. The cost of accommodation is reasonable, and the cost of day-to-day life is reasonable as well. It's a small city but well connected, so it's easy to travel to Dublin, to the south of Ireland, and access a lot of European cities that way. It's also very easy to travel to London and other UK cities as well. Dublin's around an hour and a half away from Belfast. London and most UK cities are around a 1 hour flight as well. And the population is quite small, but you do still get the feel of a city in Belfast, but with a smaller population, it's less crowded. And all of the same aspects that you would find in any other UK city, you'll see in Belfast. So this is an example of one of the beautiful buildings in the city centre, the Belfast City Hall. And then other locations then around Northern Ireland that are really easy to travel to from Belfast. Some of the tourist attractions like the North Coast. There's some stunning landscapes that you can access within around an hour from Belfast, but even closer than that, within traveling 10 to 20 minutes outside of the city, you can be in the countryside, and that is definitely one of the benefits of Belfast as a location, that you don't have to travel too far to get out of the city centre itself. And of course, it's hard to mention Northern Ireland these days without mentioning some of the really exciting films and TV shows that are filmed here. So if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you may be aware that this has been filmed in and around Belfast and Northern Ireland. And there's lots of the filming sets and locations that are available to see, like the Dark Hedges, for example. But some of the areas that the Game of Thrones was filmed are really beautiful and definitely worth a visit. But there's other shows that are filmed in Belfast too. You might have heard of The Fall with Jamie Dornan, and a really popular one at the minute is Line of Duty. If anyone's been following that, a lot of that show was filmed in Belfast as well. But that's enough from me. I'm going to hand over to Mark now, who is going to give you the information that you're here for about the MSc Marketing. So I'll hand over to Mark. Mark, you can take control of the slides. There should be a little button at the top that gives you that option, and then you can scroll through those.
Okay, thank you, Catherine, and welcome along, everyone. My name is Mark Palmer, and I'm currently the Programme Director for the MSc Marketing Programme. And just by way of introduction, I'm just going to I suppose, provide you with an overview of the course, some of the main features of the course, and by all means, ask me any questions you would like towards the end of the presentation. Just to say, by way of an introduction, I suppose like any course within the university, it's very much about creating your own experience, and we attempt to provide the structure around that, and obviously the social setting, and some of the structures and clubs and societies and those various institutions that help and enable you to do that, so that you can co-create your experience. And that's really what I would say, right from the outset, right from the get-go, really to say, you know, it's about creating and bringing your energy and your enthusiasm to the course, and your experiences, and bringing all of that mix, and co-creating that with your peers, so that you get as much as you can out of the course. So just really, I always like to say that at the outset, because I think sometimes I reflect on my own time at university, when I was undertaking my MSc in marketing, and it is very much about what you put in, and ultimately what you get out. In terms of the program itself, you'll see there the program aim, and what essentially how the program's positioned, and you'll see there that we place a big emphasis on making sure that you develop the necessary professional marketing skills, and we highlight there three there in particular in a general overview: conceptual, analytical, and practical. And in simple terms, basically how to visualize marketing problems, how do you in a sense create some sort of variance or compare and contrast, or some sort of analytic to be able to evaluate and make decisions. And then basically how you can get practical skills, how you can draw down on theory, for example, KPIs, key performance indicators, and how those can be operationalized within I suppose an internship, or context, or a problem context where you might be asked to problem solve. And you'll see there in the second paragraph that we aim to bring that forward in terms of emphasizing the digital remit, and bringing, I suppose, forward that emphasis on big data, the emphasis on creativity, and blending those together in terms of understanding management, consumer behavior, digital marketing, and specifically in terms of skills around Google Analytics and marketing analytics, as well as thinking about how you undertake both traditional marketing research, market research methods, as well as understanding the dynamics within an international environment. In terms of the specific modules then, just briefly, you'll see in the first semester there we have it structured 4 core modules, and then in the second semester there are 4 core modules. So these modules, you'll see the fairly standardized modules across most MSc programs across the UK, but critically they dovetail and they reflect the professional qualifications, so with the Chartered Institute of Marketing as well. So that will allow you to then go off after you study your academic qualification, your MSc in marketing qualification, to then supplement that with your professional marketing qualification. So you'll see there marketing management. I deliver marketing management. It's an introductory module, so I can speak to that, but that's really setting you on your journey. So if you've never studied marketing before, that module will give you, I suppose, a really good basis, a really good foundation to the course. And then strategic marketing, again, I deliver that module as well, so you'll get a sense that the course is being delivered by myself. So you can, in terms of these 2 modules, sadly that's the only 2 modules that I would be delivering, but essentially that module will then take certain subject areas and advance those. So it could be, for example, how to co-create experiences, or, for example, I cover the role of institutions in marketing, or the role of psychology, particularly leadership psychology and how that shapes marketers. So, for example, the role of narcissism. Then you'll cover digital marketing, which will be a specific module very much upfront in the first semester around I suppose the importance of the digital environment and how you can deliver that. So, for example, you can undertake a real life project there, looking at maybe auditing some digital marketing practices within a real life work context. And then the final module there is accounting. Accounting essentially is emphasis on the analytics dimension. So again, that will set you up for the second semester in the sense that you will cover some key performance indicators in relation to businesses. As we all know, marketers work within budgets, and budgets essentially work within the accounting system. So having that understanding and insight in terms of how budgets work will then enable you to think about marketing practice more analytically speaking. In the second semester, we cover international marketing, marketing analytics, where you will run kind of and engage with SaaS, which is a software program tailored to looking at how you can maybe derive some analytics and analytical insights into databases and resolve some problems that maybe centre around segmentation, targeting and positioning for a company. You'll also cover consumer behaviour, and you'll look at that from both a sociological as well as a psychological perspective, and the different communities, research communities that is, in relation to some of the interesting research communities that have emerged to take the extreme sides of consumption. So we're not just looking at maybe day-to-day food shopping consumption, for example, but looking at how individuals might consume certain video games or become maybe addicted to certain gaming activities. So there's a wide spectrum there, and I think I know that students always talk about how enjoyable that is, that particular module. And then the final module will cover research and methods and techniques. Here we'll speak about research proposals and looking at how you can then develop those research proposals, and you'll cover a software program like SPSS, and you'll learn some fundamental skills around Excel and being able to cut and slice and dice data so that it provides meaningful insight into consumer insights. In the third semester, then you'll focus on research projects, and you'll have an option. You can either go down the traditional dissertation route, which will be around typically a 14,000 project where you'll carry out primary research. Alternatively, you can undertake an internship where you can get real-life work experience over a 12-week period. Or finally, you could opt for what's known as an academic research project, and that is essentially two top modules comprising contemporary issues in management and business and governance and society, plus you'll undertake a critical literature review. And these basically are offered in terms of the delivery, but there is a caveat in there that in terms of I suppose with COVID and how that might impact, for example, placements and working remotely, etc. But by and large, that's essentially what you would do in the third semester. Just to note briefly then in regards to the Chartered Institute of Marketing, I mentioned earlier there that the core modules, so the core 8 modules, will be reflective of the professional qualifications, and that's really critical when you go to study a course, that you're confident that you will obtain exemptions for when you then go on and maybe undertake your professional qualifications. So, for example, if you're studying international marketing, there's within the diploma and the certificate of Chartered Institute of Marketing, there will always be a course there that is called International Marketing, and you will automatically get exemptions from that particular examinations, perhaps at the certificate, or sorry, at the diploma level. So that pretty much summarises the course. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me at this point or towards the end, and I'll be happy to answer them. So at this point, I'll maybe just hand back to Catherine, if that's okay, Catherine.
Thank you, Mark. That was really helpful. So I'm just going to take back control of the slides there. Yeah, there's just a few other things I wanted to mention at the end, just around facilities and support, and then we can move on to questions as well. So I'll see Emma's just popped that in the chat. If you do have any questions, feel free to go ahead and put them in the question box now, and we'll get to them at the end. But just a little overview then of the graduate school. So the graduate school is a facility that's solely available to graduate students. So our undergraduate students can't use these facilities. So it's a hub that really connects students from across all disciplines. So all students can go here. It's a good opportunity to meet students that are studying different courses in a different school, for example. You can also do some training and workshops and courses through the graduate school as well. I've highlighted the Chartered Management Institute Level 7 certificate there. And that's a really good opportunity to get some additional leadership skills outside of what you will learn while you're studying the MSc Marketing. And there's also facilities available in the graduate school itself too. There's a computer suite, there's group work rooms, there's presentation rooms. It's generally just a really nice facility as well to meet people too. So you can book some spaces for group work, or there's just some communal areas that you can hang out as well. The library then, so the university did invest a lot of money in a new library some years ago. And it has all of the facilities that you would expect to find in a modern library. Lots of computer suites, all of the books that you would need. There's also a cafe there too, so you can keep yourself well fueled with coffee on the late night study trips. The Physical Education Centre, so the PEC, we've got some state-of-the-art facilities in there. So there's the gym, and there's a swimming pool, and there's lots of courts like for squash, things like that, indoor soccer, and there's playing fields as well then separately up the Malone Road too, that if you join some of the sports teams, you might have access to those as well. Then accommodation. So accommodation was ranked in the top 10 in the UK. We have a guaranteed place for international students as well. So if you're concerned that you might not be sure where to stay or whether there'd be a place available, we will definitely have a spot for you in our accommodation, and we can recommend the rooms that are most, or the halls or the accommodation that's most appropriate for postgraduate students, depending on your own preferences too, and of course the cost as well. So rooms range from like ensuite rooms to shared rooms, private apartments, and the prices range from 75 to 175. So from £75, you would expect to be in a shared room for £75. For around £125 per week, you would get an ensuite room, and then that 175 price point refers to a private one-bedroom apartment. So that's why that's a lot more expensive. That's more for people who really like to have a lot of their own space, or maybe they have brought a family member with them as well. So scholarships and loans, I'll just touch quickly on this, as there may be some scholarships or loans available to international students. For example, the early bird discount is a 10% discount on the net fees. You would normally need to hold an unconditional offer and have paid 90% of the fees by the end of June. Due to the ongoing situation with coronavirus and the uncertainty with some students being able to get their final transcripts, we are working on extending the date of the early bird reward deadline. And then with QMS scholarships, we had allocated some specific scholarships to particular regions as well. And we're also revisiting these at the minute too. There may be some changes to this. But I'll drop a link into the chat box afterwards to let you know where you can find all of the details on the international scholarships that are available. Emma, did you want to touch on the postgraduate domestic student loan?
Yeah, so there is the student loan available for domestic students. So this opens in May, so you can apply. This works very similar to anyone that's applied for a loan for their undergrad, so it's non-means tested. So you would just apply online as you normally would, and the way Student Finance would pay that is directly to the university, and then this will go on to the back of your undergrad loan, and that's then when you're making your repayments, it'll all add on to that. So if anybody needs any more information or any help with finding the application and putting your application in, I can pop my email address into the chat box and feel free to contact me. Thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, Emma. So that's everything from us. So I see there's lots of questions coming through in the chat box, and Mark has been replying to some of these as we go along. I might pull a couple of these out and just answer them verbally as well.
Catherine, if I could just verbally answer. So yes, there's. I think Bruna, had a question there around group work. Listen, I'm going to level with everyone here. There's group work and everything associated with marketing. Even as the team here in the marketing department here at Queen's would attest to, you work with people in the field of marketing. You have to work with other people, and therefore how you gain those skills and working with other people is through group work. Now, that said, we have reduced the amount of group work down significantly within the course, but we still have important, I suppose, forms of group work. So, for example, in the first semester, digital marketing is a form of group work. In the marketing management course, I have a group, but it's only of pairs. It's undertaken in pairs. This year, because of COVID, it was undertaken as a single piece of coursework. But then in the second semester, there would be another couple of modules there where you would be asked to undertake group work, so working in teams. But that's critical, because if you look at the very nature of marketing, as I said, but also the very nature of international teams now, you need to be able to work across international teams with people from different countries, and that's all critical in terms of, I suppose, gaining that experience. And most employers will ask you that question: have you worked in teams? How do you work with somebody who maybe is not not that easy to work with? In what way did you deal with that? Those are the sorts of questions you will be asked in an interview situation. So group work will be part of the course, as I stated there in terms of that. Hopefully that will answer it was Bruno's question.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. And so there's another question from Claire that asks whether the accounting module is suitable for someone with no experience in a finance or maths course.
And I think I answered that to say yes. Is it suitable because she's got a background in maths? Listen, it's an introductory accounting course, and it's taught across all of the programs, the master's programs within the School of Management. And so it's not for anybody who's studied accounting before. So it's at a very basic level. So it would be for those that are, I suppose, trying to gain the necessary skills to be able to work with budgets. And again, that will be another prerequisite for interview questions. And thinking about your CV, have you worked with budgets? How do you work with budgets? Have you any experience working with budgets? Those are all critical for marketing practice and to gain skills, and that accounting module is there for that reason.
Perfect. So I saw a couple of questions that you've answered already in the chat as well about whether a design degree would be a good fit, and then around a student who has languages background. Yes. And is there anything additional that those students would need to prepare before they begin their marketing course?
No, because what we have in the first semester is a module called Marketing Management, and again, it's a Principles of Marketing course that will provide the introductory background to the subject area. The subject of marketing is vast. It draws upon a whole range of disciplines now from, well, originally it was very much economics based, but now it spans right across sociology, psychology, computer science. So there's a whole range of perspectives on marketing, and that introductory course will provide you with those perspectives, and so that there's nothing really that you can do other than just basically register and get onto the course, and basically and then take it from there, take that module, and that will build up your knowledge base. And I deliver the strategic marketing module, and that's again supplementary. It in many ways is advancing. So it's taking marketing and permitting you to study the subject of marketing, whether you've never studied it before, to bringing it to a level where you certainly probably would not have imagined that these are subject areas that belong to the field of marketing. So we're very mindful of that, I suppose, learning curve, that everybody will be at a different stage of the learning curve. So we have to bring along everybody at those different levels.
That's great. So Marty has just asked then, is the current plan for classes to be held in the lecture theatres or online? And if they aren't online, will they mostly be at Riddle Hall? So I suppose at this stage, we don't know exactly what the landscape is going to be like in September. There's a fairly good chance that things will start online and hopefully progress to face-to-face or some sort of a blended approach of both. I'm not sure, Mark, if you have a plan roughly in place for September yet, but I imagine it's a bit too soon to say.
Yes, it's a little too soon to say, just at this point in time, to say that what you'll find is a good course will have a blend of approaches. And obviously with the jolt of COVID and the pandemic, we have in many ways extended that blend to much more online delivery. And for many of the academics on the programme, that has been very beneficial in terms of being able to spend a lot of time focusing on new ways to, I suppose, blend the learning experience. So when we go back to the classroom, there will be and there will likely be that online residual remaining, in a sense that we will always have that now as a component blended amongst the offline. I think you cannot ever substitute the spontaneity and the serendipity of the classroom, because you've got a social context, a social environment, and that's, some people refer to that as just simply being there. And if you imagine being there with your parents, your mum and dad, or your brother, sister, or a friend, sometimes just socially being there in the classroom and being able to turn around and saying hello to somebody, and the learning that is generated from that, and the networking, whereas it's more difficult, and there are merits and demerits for both sides, but all I can say is what we will try to endeavour to do is both, and assist you in both. Some people probably prefer one over the other, but we'll try to accommodate.
Looking over everything in this room.
Okay. I'm not sure Naomi has something to add there, or her mic's on. But that's essentially what we're trying to do. Okay, so listen, just to say, we want to accommodate both approaches, because they will deliver a good experience, and that's what we're looking to do: deliver the Queen's experience, which is enhancing your learning, and doing that both in the classroom, if doable, within the context of the regulations, the pandemic regulations, and online as well.
And in normal times when we're, on campus, Mark, do the MSc Marketing classes normally take place at Riddle Hall, or are they down at the main site?
In short, yes. There's a combination, but by and large, they're mostly at Riddle Hall.
Perfect. And Alexandra has asked, how many hours of class time per week should we expect?
Oh, that's a good question. Now we have I'll have to do a little bit of math here, but basically we have 4 modules, and typically you'll have contact time of 3 hours. So typically you would have 12 hours spread out across the week. And then of course you'll have, in addition to that, your assignments, which will be allocated in a certain number of times. But by and large, if it's a 10 credit module, which they are, now, or sorry, they might have actually increased them to 15 credits, but you'll be looking at an overall number of hours of about for every credit about 10 hours, where you're expected to deliver kind of, I suppose, some sort of academic input, as it were. So, you know, there's obviously the real time face to face, but then you'll also be in maybe some group work, so we need to have spend some time in that context, and then you'll have your own, you know, study time, and you might be listening to pre-recorded lectures. So I know myself, I've got maybe, you know, for each of the modules 10 um, 10, 10 of those, excuse me, that's just a mobile going off, you know, 10 pre-recorded lectures where you have to sit and listen to those before actually coming into the real-time lecture.
That's great. And I think we've maybe missed 1 or 2 questions. So what would we look for in a student wanting to do a master's at Queen's? So in general, this is from Ashish. So in general, the most important aspect of the requirement is to meet the academic side. So the entry requirements for this course are a 2-1. There's various equivalents then for international students of what that means. But generally over 60%. And it depends on the scoring system in your home institution, and whether that's a percentage system or a GPA system. I'd be happy to help you with any specific inquiries relating to that separately. I'm just going to drop my email address into the chat box here. But yeah, the academic requirement is the first thing and the most important thing that we'll look at when we're assessing a candidate. But aside from that, Mark, do you have any tips as to what types of students that you love to see in the classroom, or like students
Absolutely. So the requisite criteria obviously needs to be met in terms of your qualifications. But after that, once you meet all of those, I suppose, criteria, then what we're looking for as individuals, I mean, and regardless of the course, right, we want somebody who's curious, okay? So curiosity, right? Somebody who's curious. So the old saying, curiosity killed the cat, but satisfaction brought it back. We want those people that are satisfied because they're curious about what is marketing, how can I further my career marketing. So that's the first thing. The second thing that we want, like anything in, I suppose, when you think about your career for the next 30 or 40 years, you want to bring your emotions. You want to draw down on your emotions, okay? So you want those emotions to fire and fuel your enthusiasm and your curiosity, okay, and your interest in the subject of marketing. Because if you've got those two components, what we find is that people want to ask lots of questions about marketing. They want to find out more things. They want to read more studies. They want to find out and acquire new experiences. They want to co-create experiences. They want to enjoy and love what they're doing. So it doesn't become a career. It just becomes, like in the context of my own research in the field of marketing, it's not work. I don't view it as work. I just view it as, oh, I'm going off to do something I enjoy. It's like a hobby. Okay, so that's what we are looking for. Above the academic qualifications, we want those two central ingredients. And I know if you can bring those two ingredients along with your experiences, that can really mix up and bring that energy to your learning experience. That's about it. Catherine, that's all.
No, that's great. I hope that helps with that question.
Yeah.
I've got a question from Meng Ying about assessments and exams. So is there normally an end of semester examination, or is it all like coursework related?
Right, okay, so we have a university rule, a central university rule, which says within the postgraduate master's courses, there will be no final examinations, okay? However, there will be in some of the modules, so for example, within the accounting module and within the research methods and techniques module, class tests, okay? And these will these will typically be open book, and they'll be undertaken remotely by and large, in terms of being able to, for you to be able to submit your test within a certain period of time. And that's really a class test, and it's not the traditional kind of, I suppose, sense of going into an examination hall. That has been discontinued by the university. So that applies within the MSc in marketing too.
Perfect. And Meng Ying has also asked if there's a chance to work in Belfast or other UK areas after the master's course is over. So in short, yes. If you come on a student route visa, you should have the 2 years post-study work visa. That'll give you the opportunity to stay in the UK for 2 years after you finish your studies. Of course, there's no guarantee. We can't make any guarantees that you'll definitely get a job in the UK, but there, you know, if you make all the right connections during your course and meet with the careers teams and take advantage of all the services that Queen's supplies and provides, the careers fairs, they help with CVs and interview skills and things like that, then you can, you know, make as much effort during your studies in order to make yourself as employable as possible. Then you have a better chance of securing a job. Is there anything, Mark, that you would add to that around employability?
Not really, other than really to say that the School of Management have their own placement office, and I have found them to be incredibly good at finding, sourcing, following up with placements. And what we find is that employers are by and large so happy with the placement student that they want to recruit those students on a full-time basis and retain them within the business. So that's another door, and it's like anything, you're always looking to open doors, whether they appear closed or not. We always want to be networking, and I suppose that emphasis on work to net, you have to put the work in to network, and that sometimes requires you to kind of think about placements. And also there'll be within each of the modules guest lectures from maybe employers coming in, and those are the times and the opportunities where you can talk to employers and speak with them. And then there's the broader general university careers fairs that you ought to avail of as well. So those are all opportunities that I would be anticipating that you would be looking to explore. Remember, when you're bringing your curiosity with you, then you're going to be exploring mode. You want to think about and explore new avenues, and so careers and employment and work will be one of those avenues.
That's great. That's all the questions we have in. Oh, sorry, we have another one from Ashish. Do you look for diverse educational backgrounds for the master's course? Sort of just again, as we mentioned, we don't look for any specific backgrounds. The most important assessment that we do is that you meet the academic requirement. It is great, I suppose, to have a mix of different backgrounds in the classroom. It leads to interesting discussions when there is a diverse classroom as well. And we do get students from a wide variety of backgrounds onto the programme. Mark, I'm not sure if there's anything else that you would add.
Yes, well, we seek diversity. We seek for that plurality, variance, and we don't want everybody to think the same. We don't want everybody to look the same. We don't want everybody to be asking the same question. We want people to bring different experiences with them. So there will be individuals on the course that will have more experience, some that have no experience or are inexperienced, and therefore what you find is the ones that maybe have more experience will ask maybe different types of questions than those that maybe have no experience. So it's all very much about a mix of bringing that experience, and you know, I suppose maybe it's a philosophical view, but you can always learn from anybody and everybody. You know, like I learn from my students all the time. Every year, I'm learning. So, you know, that brings such a wealth of diversity in the classroom. If you're bringing an open mind, and you're saying to yourself, and that's what I do, and you know, and I'm the program director and module leader for 2 of the modules, and I take the view, well, you know, I can learn from, you know, the different reports written or the different experiences. So to give you just one example of that, this year I had a wonderful learning experience around online activities around and online communities around makeup, and basically it opened my mind. So again, unaware of just how vibrant certain peer-to-peer communities can be within that that sector, along with, for example, with fashion as well. So those are the types of, I suppose, individuals coming with diverse, maybe experience and bringing the conversations in to the classroom. I think we have another question there, Catherine.
Yeah, about the CAS. So normally June is the earliest a CAS can be issued by the university. That's just due to the requirements from the UKVI. But if you have already submitted your CAS and you've paid the deposit and you're waiting for an update, you can drop me an email. I've dropped my email address in previously, so you can contact me if you're waiting for a response on something or there's something that you're not sure about. We can deal with that separately. But yes, if you have paid your deposit and you have an unconditional offer, then June is normally the earliest that you'll get that. Let's see, there's some typing going on, so we're waiting for a few more questions to come through. And similar question from Meng Ying about the CAS. If you're planning to arrive before July, I'm not sure. If possible, could you just drop me an email separately about that? And I'll try and solve your questions for you via email. Without knowing a little bit more information, it's quite difficult to advise on individual requirements. And Marty's asking a question about SaaS software. So do we get fully trained up on that as they don't have any previous experience?
Yes, in short, yes. Within that module, marketing analytics, they have been exploring other options away from SaaS software. So using other types of software, and I know they've been experimenting with that in terms of looking at, you know, moving away from the licensing issues around that. But regardless of the software, regardless of the MarTech, then, you know, we will be looking at I suppose training from right through from the basics right to a certain, I suppose, level. Obviously there's going to be multiple levels, so it's not going to be necessarily at, you know, computer science level where you're kind of looking at writing code, for example. But we would be looking at ways in which marketers can maybe use databases and use basic algorithms to explore and call out kind of, I suppose, insights from those databases, regardless if it's SaaS or not. Hopefully that's answered it. I was looking through to see what the brands were in relation to the makeup, so that's what I was looking for. So I jotted them down.
Is it a local brand or international brand that you were discussing?
They were local.
I'm gonna say maybe Louise McDonald and Be Perfect Cosmetics.
That's it. That's the one. Yeah, and there's a whole range of them. And I was being wonderfully informed about this world and a world that has price points beyond sometimes people even would comprehend, particularly the opposite gender, that could comprehend that things could be so let's say value extracted.
Marty's just asked another question there. Can we do anything to prep for the beginning of the course in terms of taking Google Analytics?
Absolutely, you can start the ball rolling before then if you wish to do that. You will be doing that in addition to the modules and the courseworks associated with the learning outcomes of the modules themselves. But you can actually do that. That's a really good question, Marty. And there are other things as well. So we mentioned the Chartered Institute of Marketing, but there are other associations such as the Market Research Society, which would have affiliated examinations. So you can go on there and register and basically explore that. The other one is the Direct Marketing Institute. Again, you can explore and do some work around that. And there's also a key performance. If you're interested in analytics in particular and big data, there's the Key Performance Indicator Association or Institute. And again, you can supplement in a prerequisite way. So in a way that's maybe I would say co-requisite rather than, it's not necessarily a prerequisite to the course, but it can supplement the course by going off and exploring those, because those are all what I would call really important indicators for your CV. So being able to enhance your CV, and that's really what the course is trying to endeavour to do. So you achieve a certain set of learning outcomes, and as a result of that, you're supplementing and building your CV so that that you become much more attractive to employers.
Great. Just in response to Meng Ying about the accommodation, Meng Ying, you can go ahead and apply now. On the homepage of our website, you can navigate to the accommodation page, and then on the accommodation homepage is how to apply, so you can submit your application online. I've also just popped in the accommodation email address. You can actually email them directly and they'll be happy to help sort of advise you of what accommodation is most suitable for you based on your requirements or your preferences as well. So does the subject include the data analytics? So there is a little bit of analytics in the marketing analytics module, but not specifically data analytics. Is that right, Moore?
There's both. So there's a theoretical aspect associated with analytics. So making decisions based on analytics. So it could be descriptive, prescriptive analytics, and then kind of looking more advanced kind of AI type analytics and kind of what that means in terms of algorithms and decision makings and the ethics around that. Then the second part of that course is very much about practical. So you will basically get kind of onto the computer and basically look at a data set and basically use different approaches to maybe analysing and trying to generate some sort of insight. So it'll be both. It'll be a combination of both. Does that answer your question? Hopefully, yeah.
And I see there just that Marty is asking about, he's considering doing the CIM Digital Marketing Certificate, which also starts in September, and it would be a 10-week intensive course. Would that be a lot to take on alongside the MSc in marketing? Of course, we can't control what any of you do in your spare time, but this would just be a recommendation.
Look, well, what I would probably say to you there is, you have to maybe rein in the ambition. It's baby steps, okay? You would like to get this all out of the way, and but really, in terms of the learning journey, you don't necessarily want to see it as an outcome. The best things in life are journeys, and experiencing the journeys as you go along. So if you're thinking, right, okay, can I get all of these professional qualifications out of the way, and this academic qualification out of the way, and then get into the workplace? As I said, I'll go back to what I said about curiosity, and then kind of bringing down your emotion. In other words, your set of emotions that are related to what you enjoy doing, and in terms of what you're interested in. And you can quite easily burn yourself out if you're trying to do everything. And what I would say is, if you undertake the course and do it really well, and you get a good experience, and you co-create a good experience, and then when you're undertaking the CIM, then you will have exemptions, because if you look at the CIM diplomas, you'll see that they mirror, the course mirrors those. So you will be getting exemptions from international marketing, or marketing analytics, or marketing management, or digital marketing. So why would you want to study both simultaneously when you're going to get an exemption from undertaking the academic side of things? So that's that. So that wouldn't make sense. The third point probably I would make there is, which I kind of initially made there, is small steps, baby steps, kind of just, progress it more slowly, and think about kind of enjoying the journey, rather than, you want this all out of the way. I can understand where you might come from in regards to that. If you look outside in society, it's all about immediacy, it's all about instant society, it's all about getting things straight away. But I would say that's not necessarily healthy, certainly when it comes to learning, and in particular reflective learning, and being able to reflect back on what you've said or done, in particular, during the course. And that's what you want to do. You want that moment of reflection. And if you're doing it all at once and getting it all out of the way, then that doesn't necessarily lend itself to reflection.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. So we just have a couple of minutes left. Does anyone have any further questions? You can hang on for a minute or two, and then we'll be wrapping up shortly. And if not, then we'll maybe wrap it up now. But you have all of our contact details anyway, myself and Emma. If you think of anything else, or anything that we weren't able to answer for you today, just drop us an email and we'll be happy to help you individually. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And a special thanks to Professor Mark Palmer for delivering the course information today. Thanks, Mark.
No problem.
And hopefully we'll see some of you in September.
Yes, good luck with your decision making, whatever
Thanks,
that may
everyone.
be. Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.